So topic for this afternoon is enterprise mobility. I'll be giving a overview of our mobile application platform and explain to you how that platform can be the first step for your digital transformation. I spoke to some of you this afternoon out on the booth already. We had some very good discussions about potential use cases to be utilized on a mobile application platform. We talked about healthcare. We talked about IT assets in the data center. So pretty much across the board, a wide range of very interesting use cases that can be deployed on a mobile application platform. So a bit of history to start with. We acquired a company called Feed Henry, an Irish company, back in 2014. And that product now has become our central mobile application platform, running on Openshift, fully containerized. And had a few very interesting client deployments already over the last 2 years. So let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit first about mobility as a key technology as part of digital transformation. So you heard a lot of times, and you know it as well, the only innovations or the innovations that were done over the last 10 to 15 years in companies were mostly around keeping the lights on, right? Most innovations were done internally, process integration or improvement of business processes, improvement of rules, or classic enterprise application integration. But at the end of the day, it was always about internal applications and internal users. So what has happened over the last couple of years was that many companies are looking outside of their enterprise to bring their customers, their end customers, and their partners into the fold and to connect with them a lot more intensely. So reinventing engagement with customers and stakeholders becomes more and more important, and mobility is clearly a key enabler for that. Also, users are now put at the center of innovation. The user experience, how users are using a company's services, be it the bank or in any industry, becomes really, really critical. So UI design, for example, or design thinking are areas that a lot of companies are investing in. The other point is that mobile innovation now is increasingly driven by the business. So it's not the IT teams that are looking at mobility and are looking at how mobility can improve relations to the end customers, but it's actually the business themselves. And it makes sense because they understand the processes and they understand the pains that their end customers have. And the fourth point I want to point out, obviously, to make mobility a good value for a company, you have to integrate a lot more data sources than it used to be. So in former times, you had a data warehouse. That was pretty much the framework you worked under. But nowadays, it is much more critical to collect data outside of the enterprise as well, through new technologies like IoT or machine learning, right? And through consolidation of these data and tying that together with mobility, you provide value to your end customers. So mobility is pretty much underneath all of that, one of the key enabler in that step to digital transformation. It also means that mobility is both a catalyst and a challenger. So as mentioned, enterprise mobility offers opportunities for companies to reinvent their business processes, engage in new ways with customers, with partners, and with employees. Right? So they're the drivers for innovation in a business. On the other hand, mobility is also a challenge to existing IT, and especially to existing IT processes. Because you need to roll out in a much more flexible manner new applications or updates to your mobile apps to make sure that it's always up to date and your clients always get the best value out of your apps. So, how does a journey typically look like when you talk about mobile application development? So, a lot of companies start out relatively straightforward with some sample apps. Here on the left side, experimental apps, usually support for only one or two environments like iOS. And they provide a point solution for one particular problem, also with limited use, very often only used inside of the enterprise. Then you move more to the middle, which is the mobile enterprise. Suddenly you need to get support for a majority of devices, a majority of platforms, iOS, Windows Phone, Android. You suddenly start thinking about, okay, how can we create targeted apps to provide value for our customers, right? How can we think a bit more comprehensively what these apps need to do? You then start thinking about a platform, right? Because you don't want to have a team of people sitting around and creating apps in some corner and then using them in an app store. You want to have a more comprehensive approach, and a mobile application platform can help with that. And then future music is the digital enterprise. That's when you bring other new technologies like wearables or Internet of Things in there to make it, a more compelling case. So I guess the majority of you might be here more on the left side with already one foot in the middle, already thinking maybe about a platform or a more comprehensive approach of using mobile in your enterprise. So this is pretty much our statement, our mission statement. With our mobile application platform, we want to accelerate the development of mobile projects by facilitating secure backend integration and collaborative app development in the cloud and on-premise. So there's a few things in there that I want to point out. First of all is collaborative app development. So you want to get your brightest people in the room and enable them to create apps for your customers. That's one thing. Because you can create apps in using very different technologies, and through sitting together in a collaborative manner, you probably will find the best way how to provide value in your app development projects. The other point is secure integration in your backends. Because an app can only be as good as the data it feeds to your customers, right? So integration into your backends, into your processes is critical. The third point is development of mobile projects. So don't regard mobility as just application development or simple app development. Regard it as an actual project that looks at the enterprise in total and the value it can bring to your customers. And fourth, but not least, cloud and on-premise. So you want to have the flexibility to run your mobile projects and mobile application projects either on-premise or in the cloud. Now, let's have a look at our mobile application platform. Again, it's based on the Feed Henry acquisition 2 years ago, but it has grown significantly over the last few years. I want to talk a little about each of these different aspects of our solution. Pretty much, you've got three main areas. The so-called MBaaS, Mobile Backend as a Service, your core, and your app development area. Let's start with app development. So that's straightforward. That's the component of your mobile application platform that will provide you support to create the actual apps. So we do have support for all native platforms, iOS, Android, Windows Phone. We also support HTML5 and all JavaScript type frameworks and toolkits that you can use to write a mobile app. Things like AngularJS, Ionic, and Cordova. When it comes to the IDE, so the development platform, we're open. We leave it up to the developers to pretty much choose their own tools. So if you have an existing IDE, let's say Eclipse-based, you can use the plugins provided through a mobile application platform to create your apps. or you can use the toolkit that is provided within MAP in order to create your mobile apps. We also have a forms builder, pretty much that lets you flexibly create forms, standard forms pretty much for your apps and include them. And then we have a lot of tutorials, how to create apps. We've got documentation, again, support for different development tools. And for those of you preferring to work with a command line interface, we do have support for that as well. So that covers off the whole area of your mobile application development. So the second part of MAP is the core functionality. And that covers a lot of ground. Lifecycle management is one part of it. Because, again, you want to be rolling out several updates of your applications, of your apps, on a regular basis. If you know the Facebook app, for example, gets an update every 2 weeks, right? With new features, new functions, but also security updates as needed. You want to get analytics. You want to understand how many people are using your app, how many people have downloaded your application, or maybe even how many people have deleted your app, in order to understand how successful you are and how well you're connecting with your customers. You can deploy a private app store that is primarily used for your employees, right? So it's not necessary to deploy all of these apps in the official Apple App Store or in Google Play. You can set up a private app store as well in your enterprise. And the additional functions, I don't want to go into too much details, but obviously a push server for enabling push management and user management for the users who are working on your mobile application platform. Again, it's a collaborative effort, so therefore it is critical to bring a lot of teams with very different skill sets into the fold. So the third part of our mobile application platform is also abbreviated as MBaaS, Mobile Backend as a Service. And that's the platform that contains all the code in the background. So it contains your logic, your business logic. It contains the code to integrate in your endpoint systems. It can be databases, it can be packaged applications such as SAP or Salesforce, for example. So RHMAP comes out of the box with connectors to these applications. We've got about 20 or 30 different services there that you can use and hook up to your logic and your apps. You can implement microservices. You can sync data between your app or between the user app and your endpoint system, your backend system. It's very critical as well to provide value to clients. And to round it off, we've got functionality around caching, storage of data, and obviously authentication to the application. And this part, the left part, MBaaS, will then connect to your enterprise systems. Again, you can choose the services that you want to use to integrate with those. Okay, moving on. One aspect that is pretty important now is that as per the latest version of RHMAP, version 4.2 that came out just a few weeks ago, we are running our mobile application platform on Openshift. So this means you get all the benefits out of our Openshift platform. So the app deployments are done through containers in the Docker format. You can orchestrate apps and services that span multiple containers using Kubernetes. That's out of the box in Openshift and now is available to RHMAP as well. That's one of the newer features of our mobile application platform. Then obviously we've got integration into Git, command line interface integration, and as mentioned before, if you use a particular development tool and you want to use it also for your mobile application development, it can be easily integrated. The actual hosting of your application, your cloud code, your business logic, and your Ember services is also done in Openshift. Okay, over the last couple of years, we got some recognition for our mobile application platform. So this year we were cited in the Gartner Magic Quadrant as a visionary. Last year Forrester cited us as a leader in their Forrester Wave in Q3. And IDC has pretty much marked us as a top vendor in this year's vendor report on mobile application platforms. And again, it is the only mobile application platform in the market that is completely based on open source. So Feed Henry, the company that we acquired in 2014, forms the basis for it. What we did after acquiring the company, the next day we created an open source community, also named Feed Henry, and we're feeding back everything that we do around our version of RHMap to the online community and the open source community. So a few customers, given that the company comes out of Ireland, there's a sizable number of clients in Europe. But we're getting quite some traction now in the Asian market as well and in the US. So that list of customers will very likely grow over time. Let's talk about one customer specifically, which I think is a very interesting use case. It is a rail infrastructure company in the United Kingdom. They actually bought Feed Henry prior to the acquisition. And initially, they just used it for a few selected use cases within the enterprise around managing their assets. In 2014, what happened was there was a major storm in the United Kingdom, and a rainstorm that damaged a lot of the tracks that was run by this rail infrastructure company. So suddenly on one day they got up and say, okay, we've got all the damage to our network. We need to find out how big that damage was. How can we find it out? We have no way of doing that. So they used RHMap to design, to build, and to deploy a mobile app within 8 hours. So at the end of the 8 hours, they used that app, and the app was pushed out to all of was around 12,000 field workers. Right? They had the app on their mobile phone. They were able to go out. They were able to take photos of the tracks once they found some damage, write some notes, and also include the GPS location of the damage. Record it in the app, submit it, and send it to headquarters again where it was collected. So after 24 hours, the headquarters of that rail infrastructure company had a good overview of all the damage that was happened or that had happened to their infrastructure, and were able to report that back and have a good overview of it. So that was a pretty good use case, and it shows you that mobility does not just provide value to users, to end users, it also changes your development processes, because you don't always get asked to create an app within 8 hours and see results of that app within 24 hours. But that's something that a mobile application platform can help you with. Okay, new version 4.2 at a glance. Again, it is the first mobile application platform that is fully open sourced and fully supported from the ground up through Red Hat. It is running on RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It uses containers formatted in Docker and orchestrated through Kubernetes, so easily scalable. It runs on the Openshift container platform. Now, when it comes to deployment, you've got the flexibility now to either let it run in the public cloud, in a private cloud, or on-premise. So that's maybe new for some of you who have worked with earlier versions of RHMap. It was only available as a public cloud option. Now you've got pretty much the choice where you want to run it. And whether you want to have it operated through us, Red Hat, or directly managed in your data center. So the other thing we have in there is a set of modules that is designed to build customized solutions for the creation and the management of work orders. So it's not actually a product that we sell separately, but it is, again, a set of modules that come with the product and that you can use to create your own project and your own solution around that. It's also based on an open source project called Raincatcher. We renamed it now to Mobile Workforce Management, and is included when you install RHMap either on premise or whether you use the public or the private cloud option. Okay, let's look at the benefits and competitive advantages of RHMap, just in a way to summarize it. So again, it is a comprehensive and flexible end-to-end solution for connecting mobile apps and enterprise solutions. Right? So it comes out of the box with MBAS services that allowed you to connect to your endpoint systems, but it also allows you to integrate the mobile application platform to an existing integration platform that you may already have. So we made sure that our product is well integrated in the other products of our stack. Some clients are looking at currently implementing it together with the BPM solution, right? To have a user interface that is running on a mobile phone as an app, but also in a web browser. Also, some of our clients currently look at it from an API perspective, integrating our mobile application platform with 3Scale, which is our API management solution. You can scale easily from department to full enterprise. Again, it's based on Openshift, so easy scalability. You can use your preferred tools for faster time to productivity. Again, using your preferred tools for development or using the inbuilt tools. We've got server-side modules, reusable MBAS services using Node.js. And again, what's really critical, it includes lifecycle management to make sure that your apps are always up to date and your users get the best value from it. And you get our brand, our support, our commitment that it's fully supported from the underlying operating system through the Openshift up to the applications running on it. Good. To close off, I want to reiterate again, mobile platform, our mobile application platform, the only platform in the market that is based on open source and has the full support of our organization from operating system up the chain. So if you're interested in learning more about our mobile application platform, if you're looking at use cases currently, what we do have is a workshop that we're running, a discovery workshop. What we're doing there is a couple of things. First of all, we identify specific use cases to your enterprise. We look at the areas that you're currently doing or any type of activities that you're currently invested in the mobile application space. We identify business drivers and certain challenges, and then identify how a comprehensive mobile application development platform can help you. We then look at potential solutions and technologies. We look at integration, how a mobile application platform could integrate in your current environment, either using your existing integration platform or using the inbuilt integration features of RHMap. And then the next step is to create an action plan to address needs and to discuss what the next steps could be to make that mobile application platform a reality in your company. Okay, that's it for now. I thank you very much for your attendance.